Alright everybody, welcome back to Esports Chat number 5. This is actually going to be the third time Edgar is going to be hanging out with us, talking about his opinions on Call of Duty franchising, what we should be possibly expecting for next year, um, commenting on a couple leaks. Should be a good time. We're going to be taking your questions, and Edgar is here to give us a little bit of insight that maybe we won't get anywhere else.
I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the last two streams. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've definitely
You guys
enjoyed it.
have any cool questions or whatever? Or if you just want to hear a somewhat different opinion from what's floating around there on Reddit and Twitter, you've come to the right place.
This is
Yes.
it's definitely the place. So, with a couple of different things this time around, you guys asked for something to kind of reference as for like questions and guidelines about what we're going to be covering. So we're going to have a bit of a topic list. At the end, we're going to be taking questions from the community, coming from the Reddit thread that I posted earlier, along with stuff from Twitter, Twitch chat, etc.
Oh, wow. You
But
have a Reddit thread?
we
Didn't know that.
do, we do. I
That's a
went and
lot of preparation.
it is. I do it myself. It's great. I have fun. But even though like the community wants these things, like I'm gonna be honest, I do too. You have a great insight on things that obviously the Call of Duty community does not have right now, especially with you being so we'll say business savvy. With that, I guess we can kind of lead into the big thing that's been going on since you were on last month in April. It's the Call of Duty League leaks from the Codburner. He put out so far 7 pages of documents which go over things that we were kind of hinting at. But me, I didn't expect them to be true, and it seems like some of these documents are pointing for them to be true. One of them being that it is going to be a $25 million minimum for a spot. There are 12 slots available, meaning 12 teams. And so far, it was announced from Charlie Intel at first that there's going to be 5 teams that are signed on right now. That is Atlanta from Atlanta Esports Ventures and Cox Media. Envy Dallas, which is Team Envy. New York, which is from Sterling Venture Capitals,
And the
and
Mets
yeah,
own that.
Mets, and Jeff Wilpon. Paris, DM Esports, Drew McCourt, and Splice, Overactive Media. So we already have 5 huge companies that clearly have money to spend.
Yeah.
Um, with that, obviously, there's a couple names lacking on that list that people were expecting. Um, but there were a couple other things within that we already talked about, which is team branding. And with Codburner's post today, he pretty much confirmed that teams are going to have to change their names. They're going to have to be new entities, um, which you already talked about. So, let's hear your thoughts on that.
All right, so as far as rebranding and all that other stuff goes, I don't see why it was such a surprise to people to begin with, because Activision has always wanted these individual franchises to be their own entities, have their own brands, and to get away from that traditional pod organization esports name or whatever that's been permeating the industry for a while. Now, here's another thing to think about here, too. I know in the past podcasts we've talked about how I didn't really agree with cheering for ownership groups because it doesn't really make sense. For example, if you live in Los Angeles, your favorite basketball team is probably the Los Angeles Lakers, right? But then your favorite NFL team is probably also the Los Angeles Rams. Yet if you're cheering for an ownership group, your basketball team shouldn't be the Lakers. It should actually be the Denver Nuggets because that's the same ownership group that owns the Rams, the Nuggets, and the Colorado Avalanche, right? Stan Kroenke, who actually also owns the Immortals, that esports organization. So, if we were to go by ownership, being a fan of an ownership group right there, a lot of these people should be cheering for the Immortals if they live in LA to begin with, right? Let's go back to this too. So, a lot of people were thinking that Activision would allow Envy, which owns Dallas Fuel, to also have another Call of Duty team there right in Dallas and also name them Dallas Fuel. And that doesn't really make sense if you think about it either.
Mhm.
Because once again, Stan Kroenke's group right there. owns the NBA team called the Denver Nuggets, and he also owns the NHL team called the Colorado Avalanche.
He owns
They
a lot
play
of
out of
different teams.
they play out of the same building right there in Denver. So why would you have different names like that? I mean, why would you have the same name like that just throughout the whole ownership group? All it really does is just create another problem where value of the franchise doesn't stay with the franchise if that group wants to sell it, and the brand's being built. All right, hold on. And the valuation of the brand is actually with
Hmm.
the name of the organization instead of the franchise spot itself, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a problem too. Like, think about this. Right? NBA before Michael Jordan, before he owned the Charlotte Hornets, now
Yeah.
started out as the Charlotte Bobcats. He was
Hmm.
part owner of the Washington Wizards. Okay, so you see the issue there. So why didn't all the Wizards fans immediately go to Charlotte when Michael Jordan left the Wizards and then got on that ownership group for the Charlotte Bobcats? Another thing too, John Henry owned part of the Florida Marlins before too.
Hmm.
Actually, I believe he was the principal owner of that group for a while, and then of course now he owns the Boston Red Sox. So you see the issue here. Why I think it's a little weird cheering for ownership groups, because you would think that if you're a John Henry fan, you would switch your allegiance from the Marlins to the Red Sox, right? But that didn't really happen. The South Florida fans that like the Marlins are still cheering for the Marlins. The Red Sox fans don't really care because they're like, oh, I got a new owner, spends a lot of money, we just won World Series. There you go. So that's why I always thought it was weird that people thought organization names would stay the same, or that Activision would allow Overwatch names to come into the Call of Duty World League. Kind of see what I'm saying here?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like, I mean, it just happened. What was it? Not exactly this year, but last year. The Rams, they switched cities for NFL.
Exactly. Yeah. Apparently, it looks like my volume level's a little low.
No, I fixed it. I got
There.
it.
Okay. Perfect. Cool.
Yep. All good.
All right. So, what else here?
Um,
I'll start with.
yeah, so also within Codburner stuff, I mean obviously the branding. Within this stuff, the document specifically quote create cohesive branding, ensure team colors work well in venue, in game, on apparel, connect each team's brand to the local city and region. Um and more specifically, obviously, which we just talked about, teams with existing endemic esports brands may submit creative solutions for the league office to consider on how to note to their existing IP. So yeah, it optic gaming, not gonna be a thing. Maybe we'll see like green. Maybe we'll see logo with like a green wall or something like that if optic was to be in.
Well, I'd assume they'd
Um,
keep the same colors that their
mhm,
Overwatch team has, green and black, since that's traditional optic colors.
yeah.
Same thing with Dallas Fuel; it's pretty much a blue themed thing. But I don't really necessarily agree with Activision's thing where they're requiring all of the team brands to fit in with a specific motif that not Overwatch League, Call of Duty World League will have.
Yeah.
Like if you look at a lot of the Overwatch League logos,
Hmm.
all kind of look the same. They don't really stand out if you think about it. Might be a
There's
little
there's
too
very
clean for
there's
me.
very few there's very
Yeah.
few that actually stand out. One of them, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I really enjoy the Houston Outlaws with the way that Reaper's guns are looking like the Texas horns. Like it's cool, it's definitely unique. But like for instance, the Atlanta Rain, not really a fan of it. Looks weird to me personally. So I hope they could be a little more creative with it. But I hope they won't have to stick to such strict, I'm gonna say, political
Pastels.
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Like they
don't
have
know.
to stick to something.
Yeah. It's
Be
kind
a
of
little
weird
unique.
though. Like, yeah. When I look at the Overwatch team logos, all it looks like it's one standard two-dimensional pastel something.
Mhm.
Like look at the Atlanta Rain, like an outline of a phoenix or something is red. NYXL. And can anybody really describe what that is? Yeah, Houston Outlaws. I actually kind of like their logo. I kind of wish it's more three-dimensional.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because right now
Maybe
it kind of
that's
looks
more
flat.
specifically so it works better on merch and T-shirts and stuff like that. But again, I don't know.
Possible, and that's up to Activision what sort of branding they want to have for their whole league. So
Mhm.
teams. I guess teams. Well, I was about to say if these leaks are real, but I'm going to go ahead and say that these are probably real, considering
Mm-hmm.
Activision's been taking them down, right? And
Yeah,
and obviously, if they
that's another
weren't
topic.
real,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if they weren't real, I don't think they'd be taking them down like that.
Yeah.
So okay. So let's just go under the assumption that everything that's been posted is real.
Mm-hmm.
That way we don't have to get into this. Well, we need to take it with a grain of
Yeah.
salt, sort of talk.
Apparently, Activision put a fake copyright claim on on like the slides that were published. And that was the other big discussion, which in the community was, did Activision did what they do? Was it legal? Was it illegal? Is there anything
Well,
Codburner could do about it?
here's the thing though. With the DMCA claims, because I know a few pretty big YouTubers, and just through connections in other industries, film
Mm-hmm.
industry, music industry, other stuff too. Uh, Copyright claims are a very, very esoteric type of thing. The whole process, if you want to think about it that way. And without seeing their actual filing, I don't think we can flat out say one way or the other whether what they did was right or wrong. And on top of that, too, that's why you hire large firms to litigate the stuff for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really want to delve too much into that situation there.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're a journalist. You've written articles on esports and that sort of stuff before, so you'd probably have a better feel for this than I would right now. And
Yeah.
what are your colleagues saying about it? What are these larger journalists saying out there? Guys like Richard Lewis, or Scoots,
Yeah.
those guys.
For them, honestly, if they really want to take it to court, the person who took the pictures is probably gonna have to come forward. Just because I don't think the burner, or if there's specific people involved, they're can't really go to court and say, hey, so I got these things from this person. Well, where'd you get it from? Who's this person? Oh,
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
really
Yeah,
know. That's not really
yeah,
gonna do anything. It's not
Oh
really,
yeah, well,
yeah,
yeah. Because at that point in time, Activision could just be like, "Well, actually, we took those pictures on an Activision digital camera, so we
exactly.
own the copyright to that actual picture." Unless you
Mhm.
have somebody who's willing to come forward and say, "No, I actually took that actual photo
Yep.
there."
Yep.
But even if they wanted to do that, obviously, money talks, bullshit walks.
Uh huh.
Activision has, let's say, a 10-figure net worth right there. They're just going to tie them up in litigation forever until at the end of time, until Activision actually releases their own information on their own. So
Exactly. Exactly.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, kind
I
of
I DM'd him. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I was like, hey, look, like, if you need help publishing them or whatever, let me know. But like, yeah, somebody like ESPN, they're not gonna take it. Too much money involved. They
see, isn't
don't
that
want it.
kind of a
They don't
conflict right
want to
there if
deal
you
with
think
it.
about it?
Yeah, it's if this was something that was not going to be released within the next, say, 3 to 6 months, within all the information I'm saying anyway, maybe it would be worth it if you really were that passionate about it. But let's be honest,
Yeah,
it's coming out either
it
way.
yeah, it's coming out no matter what. Probably
Mhm.
within a few months after, was it Modern Warfare 4, whatever?
Whatever.
Supposed to come
Yeah, that's
out.
the rumored game that it is
Advanced
now.
Warfare 2, whatever it is.
It's yeah,
Whatever
the
that game
rumored
is.
one right now. At least this week. This week it's looking like it's Modern Warfare 4. There was apparently a like personality slash press event held for some college football stars who got to play a version of it, and a couple of them kind of like leaked like, hey, kind of reminds me of the old version. Which, if you put two and two together, the old version with the next studio that's in line, it's going to be Modern Warfare.
Yeah, then I saw something about some ex-dev tweeted at somebody, highly suggestive of what the next title is supposed to be, but
Yes,
I
Marcus
don't know.
Mariota.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But with Activision taking this stuff down, it's kind of interesting though. I know last time we talked about the Streisand effect, especially when
Mhm.
it comes to the burner and all these COD pros pretty much leaking their own information.
Yep.
And that if you tell somebody not to look for something, that'll make more people actually want to check it out. And to rehash that story, the Barbara Streisand had this house in this private area that she didn't want people photographing and putting on the internet. And one day, the paparazzi somehow got a picture of it from the ocean or whatever, and then they put it up on the internet. And he sued to get it taken down.
Mhm.
And then just because she did that, that action made it into the news. So everybody started looking for this house to be like, what's so special about it? That's how the Streisand effect, the name of it, came to be. Where, yeah, because let's be honest, before that, did anybody really care what Barbara Streisand's house looked like?
Absolutely not.
Yep. And then same thing with these Activision docs that were posted.
Mm-hmm.
If they never commented on it, I'd be willing to bet most of the people who actually read those slides or those pictures
They
or
would have been
whatever
like,
they
oh, it's
are.
fake.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
But then
fake.
by them pulling it down,
Mm-hmm. They
that
pretty
just
much
shows,
proved their point.
yeah, it's like, there you go. So now you gave
Yeah.
this guy so much credibility, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what he posts. He can always be like, well, look what Activision did. I posted these, they pulled them down. So they're only pulling them down because they're real.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe where they might have messed up there. Maybe they didn't really think it through. That's the thing about Activision, like, especially Bobby Kotick. Those guys want the big media splash.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, by them doing this, I think it caught the attention of guys like Golden Boy, guys like Richard Lewis, and then they started talking about it a lot more.
All the big guys started grabbing onto it, and they went,
Yeah,
"Wait,
after,
hold
yeah,
on,
once
what's
it,
going on
once,
here?" Yeah.
exactly. Once it got
Mhm.
pulled down,
Yep.
that's when the bigger guys started latching on. Before that, I think it was just floating around on Twitter, on Reddit, whatever.
They were rumors. They were kind
Yeah.
of rumors just floating around, and people were like, all right, whatever. It's not a big deal until we hear something official. We'll take
Exactly.
it and we'll run with it. And no, nothing official like was said. But if you read between the
Yeah.
lines,
But
you
if
can
you
kind
pull
of
something down
yeah.
with a DMCA takedown request,
Uh-huh.
that in and of itself should tell you that
That
it's a
action
legitimate
alone
document.
says a lot.
Right there.
Yep.
There you go.
Exactly.
So that's where I think they probably kind of messed up right there. But
yeah.
again, maybe Activision has some corporate policy where they have to squash all leaks like that to begin with, and they're just following their standard playbook. Who knows, really?
Maybe.
I actually can't think of any sort of situation in the past in the gaming industry where something like this happened. Maybe you can.
A
I don't know.
huge leak like at this point I'm gonna consider this a leak because it pretty much full blown is it's either one of two things. It's either somebody directly associated with Activision got a hold of this document and leaked it to Burner, or it's somebody who was within that meeting who took the pictures and shared it, because the Burner already said that he got these files sent to him. So he got it from somebody.
I'd imagine he had them sent to him. I don't think he hacked the mainframe.
No.
I don't think they're the type of person that Activision's inviting to private meetings or anything like that. So.
Yeah, he knows.
And honestly, if he hacked the Activision servers or something, I'm sure Trump is ready to call him up right now and hire him to work for the NSA.
Probably. Or Activision's just going to hire him because, competition, just hire up the competition, pay him.
Exactly right there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, at this point, these leaks are just giving us more and more of an idea of what next year or Call of Duty League in general is going to look like. Last podcast we actually talked about a potential drafting process, which people weren't too happy about. They didn't like the idea of it. But the Burner posted a picture of a slide that said player selection process with 7 bullets, and then they were all grayed out. And your drafting idea might be a reality. Of course, nothing is confirmed. This is just like tossing it out there. But something has to happen with those players. They can't all just be signed.
Well, I mean, let's think about the 3 words there. Player selection process. Selection process.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Why would it be something like player acquisition guideline?
Yeah.
Instead, it's specifically selection process.
To be fair, maybe there is a slide that says that. Maybe Burner is just absolutely milking the hell out of this for all of us. But yeah, player selection. That's a specific word.
Like, yeah, that's kind of close right there. And it's like last stream when we brought it up, that was really in the context of what are these new teams going to do coming into the league, especially if all the top talent's already signed up.
Yeah.
I know it was based on us talking about will some entity want to invest all this cash into a team knowing they're just gonna get thrashed and get no viewership or whatever? I guess it's kind of like what the Florida Mayhem in the Overwatch League, how they have nobody well known. I think they're getting their asses kicked in there, right? I don't watch Overwatch, so I'm not
Yeah, I
for
don't
sure on
really.
that. And then yeah, it was. I think it was when we were talking about would teams go for more of skillful roster or would they go for the bigger names, build out social media following. Yeah, so that's
Mhm.
yeah, so stream to rehash that. Pretty much some idea we threw out there, something that I might like to see, something that would probably drive a lot of traffic to Call of Duty, a lot of interest as well too,
Mhm.
and obviously it worked for 2K League, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
Actually, it worked
latest
out
version
really
draft
well
right
for the
there.
2K League.
Now, on
Yeah.
top of that, too, for the full context of it, too, I was also saying that in order for it to be fair, if Origin was bringing players in, or an organization was currently in Call of Duty and they had all these players on the roster,
Mhm.
I mean, under contract, you make it so it's something like a protect two system, where it's 2-round draft. I
Yeah.
even made a tweet about this later, just a suggestion.
Mhm.
2-round draft. Any organization that already has players under contract can keep up to 2 players under contract. But if they keep one player under contract, they lose their first round pick. If they keep both under contract, they lose both picks.
Mm.
I think it would be kind of cool if you think about it, right?
That would be a
That's what
fun.
we were saying.
For me
Yeah,
as a journalist, that's a fun storyline to write with, honestly. And
oh,
like, I mean, think about it. Like, this league is to help promote, obviously, the players and get more of an audience and whatnot. And that comes
and
storylines.
just think about the discussion right there. Like, I just threw that tweet out. I think at what 3 a.m. or whatever.
Mhm.
Immediately, pros were commenting on it. I think it has like 50 comments on it or whatever. Now, imagine if it actually went through, though. We have all this sort of discussion leading up for weeks on Reddit on what's Optic gonna do?
Yeah.
Who are they going to protect in this draft here? I
Mhm.
think it'd be pretty cool to think about, right? And some other people have well, I tweeted that a lot of people, not a lot of people, some people they DM'd me and they said that that'd actually be really interesting to see. And just think about it. Have a draft, fly what 12, 16, 20 teams in,
Mhm.
the representatives, have a nice draft like the NBA draft has, stream it live. They put in the names right then and there on who they want to draft. I think it'd be pretty cool. And of course, we get all sorts of media coverage. That's really what the league's trying to do: grow their media
Mhm.
footprint, grow interest in the league, get everybody talking about it. So, I don't know. That's something I wanted to see. I guess if we have a draft next year, it's not really not really much anyone can do about it except just
No.
enjoy the process. Let's be
Yeah,
real.
and that's the thing where like now we're kind of at the point where we can sit and we can speculate and we can say, "Oh, it'll be fun if this will happen. It'll be fun if that will happen." But with these documents and whatnot, it's kind of solidifying those things where, like you said, we kind of just got to sit back and enjoy the ride because it's gonna happen if we like it or not.
Well, whatever
Um,
Activision decides on, it's gonna happen.
yeah,
And
yeah.
any team signing up for the league, any player who wants to play in the league, they're going to have to abide by what Activision laid out there, or else they're simply not going to play. I mean, if they're willing to
Mhm.
retire, fine, but I think it would be pretty short sight of them to retire right at a gigantic change in the industry.
Exactly.
They're, I'd say maybe they should give it at least 2 years, see how it goes.
Even then,
But
I mean, within Burner's thing, he said the first season of the Call of Duty League's going to be on system. Whether that be PlayStation 4, they switched back to Xbox. I doubt it. I hope, but I doubt it.
well, switching back to
Um,
Xbox would be pretty cool.
I personally would
Because
be down for it. I love
powerful
Xbox.
hardware right now.
Uh-huh. But with that, and then they would probably switch to PC. If these players are thinking about retiring and going, oh, screw this draft, like, dude, this is guaranteed money and like insurance. You're set for a year while it's
Yeah.
guaranteed to be on console. Give it a year. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not give it a year or so? But that's the thing too. I haven't really seen any players flat out saying, "Oh, I refuse to play if this is what happens," or even if they're
There's
saying it
it's
right now,
most
they might.
honestly it's
Yeah,
mostly the optic players, and who knows if that's true or not, if they're just they hate the
exactly.
idea and their first instinct is
Yeah,
up.
they're
Nope,
just
fuck
saying
it.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I mean, like I said before, you can just look at the Overwatch League for their current model right there. Uh, guess they have at least 50% guaranteed salaries. Minimum salary is 50,000 a year, but then ESPN had some article where the average salary throughout the whole league is about 100,000 a year. They get
Hmm.
housing paid for, healthcare
Yep.
benefits. I guess they got a personal chef or a nutritionist or something like that.
They get so
Housing,
many
they
things.
yeah, they
They
get
have
so
a
much stuff.
psychologist. They have a physical trainer. They have professional cooks. Like they have it set.
Exactly.
It's a
Yeah,
beautiful
and
trade off.
exactly. And see, that's the thing too. A lot of players this year, especially since there was no relegation tournament halfway through the season,
Hmm.
a lot of them out there are struggling. They don't know what to do. A
Yep.
lot of them are tweeting out, "What should I do? I'm technically unemployed. I'm not in the league. This is terrible. I have no guaranteed income right now."
Yep.
They're always worried about, "Oh, if I get dropped, I don't have income anymore. How am I going to get on a team?" Imagine they drop you on the last day of roster lock.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah, what happens right there? Guys like Fellow.
Hmm.
Look at that right there. Or who did Methods replace on UYU? That guy I think got dropped the last day.
I don't remember, but of course, like I felt bad for the guy because, of course, it's methods. Everybody loves him. Everybody's like, yeah, okay, he's on a team, awesome.
I
But
mean, to be
you
fair, he's
know,
been playing pretty well from what I've seen.
oh, absolutely. But in Call of
Yeah.
Duty, especially this year, somebody has to get the short end of the stick.
Actually, somebody needs to.
Mhm.
But, yeah, that's the thing too. Like a lot of people, they're hating on Methods for jumping on with UIU, but I don't know if I should even say this, but before that happened, he was even DMing me and he was asking me about what he should do as from a financial planning perspective. What should he do with his cash? Should he invest in something? And he was just asking me for advice on that sort of stuff. And then I remember he told me, he's like, "I'm pretty much unemployed right now. What am I supposed to do?"
Mhm.
That that's kind of crazy to think about because obviously Methods had a lot of cash built up from being on Optic the year before,
Yeah.
and he also had that tournament win with Rise.
Mhm.
And a lot of these other players who didn't place higher than top five throughout in any of the tournaments last
Mhm.
year, they don't have cash stacked up. And, Methods, since he was a little younger, I guess he could have always gone back and lived with his parents. But what about some of these players that have families already, have a kid,
Mhm.
a girlfriend, something like that, have people that depend on them?
Yeah.
That's something really scary if it just have their income just pulled away from them like that.
It
That's
absolutely is. I mean, I have a boyfriend, but I'm single, and I've had it happen to me, and that's a scary thing. I mean, just this weekend, we had a couple get engaged.
yeah, exactly.
What
See, I still
happens
got
if
engaged.
the rubbish carpet is just drug out from underneath them, and that's it? Like, that's a shame. That's a
Yeah,
shame,
I know.
and it's a reality this year for these players.
No, and so that's the thing with Overwatch League and hopefully with CWL next year. Well, pretty sure it's going to happen with CWL since they already have the model right there.
Yeah.
That these players are going to be taken care of. They're not going to be worried about breaking their hand punching a table or something, not having health insurance or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And
No,
they're
that's
not going to be
absolutely
worried
true.
about taking their kid to the doctor or anything like that. Not
Or
going to be worried about
what
where
is
am I
it
going to
this
live.
year? Lucky he apparently had some issues where he had to visit the doctor, and his father had to pay a couple grand.
Oh, that's well, I guess I didn't read too much into that, but from what I was able to pick up just on, I guess, a few tweets, is that they didn't realize that Heretics didn't purchase an insurance plan for them here in the United States. So he would
Yeah.
have to fly back to Spain
Yep.
and either get that there or you would have to pay out of pocket here. And
Yeah.
without
But
getting
I
too
mean,
political, the United States healthcare
mm,
system, it's people who can pay are subsidizing it for everybody else, and that's why it's so expensive. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's how it is.
But I mean, if we were to follow, I'm gonna say, the theoretics of next year. If Heretics was to get a spot, Lucky was signed under Heretics. Heretics would have American insurance, therefore Lucky would have American insurance. Because via Codburner, again, we're following just theoreticals here. All players are gonna have to move to Burbank next year, which would then make them living in America.
Well, that would make sense now, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Overwatch
was
teams are
another
playing.
that was
Yeah.
another thing you
Oh, we were
touched
talking
on.
about yeah, last. Well, see, that's the thing too. A lot of a lot of the stuff that should happen next year, we can just simply look to Overwatch League and see what they did.
Hmm.
We can fill in the blanks there. Year three, Overwatch teams are supposed to play their games out of their home market. So, like what Dallas Fuel did. So, what does that mean for that nice studio they have up there in Burbank? There you go. Exactly. And see, what I think is actually really cool too is that since Overwatch is 6v6, Call of Duty is obviously 5v5
5v5
right
right
now.
now, yeah.
Assuming it doesn't go 6v6 or something next year, you could have one of your bench players sit up there on a station ready to go. So if you
Hmm.
want to sub him in for the second map, you're not really going to have that downtime. You just have him join the lobby from there. He's already sitting up there on stage.
Yeah,
So
that was
yeah,
another thing
that's
that
pretty
actually
cool.
Burner said too. He said teams will have 7 roster spots, which
Yeah,
I'm expecting
I
that to
figured.
be
Yeah,
5 core, two
yeah,
subs.
yeah. I figured it'd be 6 to 8 minimum roster size because like let's look at our watch. It's 6v6. Roster sizes there are minimum of 8, maximum
Hmm.
of 12.
Yeah.
So it'll kind of makes sense. That'd be 6 to 8. That's what I figured. Probably max of 10,
Yeah.
max of 8. Who knows?
Hmm.
But even then, that gets into I guess that'd be a future topic that we talk about later tonight on expenses for the league
Yeah.
and why these buy-in fees are so high right
Hmm.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's another. That's we're getting there.
yeah,
That's definitely like a huge portion of it. Like you said, some players are weighing out, the quote unquote financial risk. But I mean, besides the players that are established now, excuse me, some players and fans were worried that there wouldn't be an AMC next year. And again, with Burner's docs, he pretty much confirmed that there's going to be a huge pipeline set up for AMs,
oh,
starting
that's
with
kind of what we said last time.
yeah, yeah.
Like if you
Like
have
AMs are
a
not going to be
mega
left out.
league,
Hmm.
if you have a mega league where teams are paying minimum $25 million for a spot,
Yep.
on top of their operational costs a year, which are probably going to be $8 million a year that teams are going to have to spend because just buying the spot doesn't mean you get everything for free,
Yeah.
especially when you're paying for their healthcare, travel, their housing, all that sort of
I'm
stuff,
pretty
right?
sure they get like expenses from other stuff paid too. Like,
Yeah, well, it's
yeah.
it's like well, look at the NBA. It's not, the NBA isn't paying players like health insurance or whatever.
Hmm.
Oh,
It's the organizations that do that,
yeah, it's
correct?
the teams that are paying for all of that.
Yeah.
Oh hey, we are the Boston Celtics and we got to go to LA to play the Lakers. Guess what? It's not the NBA paying for that jet. It's the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
That's the other thing too. People aren't understanding. There are going to be a ton of expenses with this
Hmm.
league. Right now, I don't think a lot of people realize this, but at least the past 2 seasons for all these open events, all the pro teams, MLG paid for their travel and their hotels.
Yeah.
And if you're in the league this year and last year, their land league, CWL, same thing. Their apartments and their airfare was paid for by CWL. Next year, that's not going to be the case. Or imagine this year or last year if the organizations had to pay all of that sort of stuff. You wouldn't see these smaller organizations around.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're slowly but surely seeing some of them uh fade away. Again, we touched on it last podcast. Red Reserve was the big thing last month, along with Lightning Pandas. But now these, I'm gonna say, bigger orgs that are, essentially gonna be created. I mean, they're not gonna be orgs; they're gonna be entities at this point. They're gonna be
The franchise
companies.
team is going to be a
Yeah,
standalone business right there.
you're gonna have your pro roster, which everybody roots for, and then you're essentially gonna have like your contenders, your academy team, which are gonna have your up and comers like Simp and Abizi and all of them, where people are still gonna be able to enjoy the AM play.
Exactly, a developmental league for all these teams because that's the big thing too. So $25 million franchise fee minimum for these spots,
Yeah,
and you're not going to build out some sort of pipeline to actually get talent there eventually. If you don't have
exactly.
that, then it's eventually going to die off, and that's the problem right now that NFL is really considering. They're thinking decades down the line.
Yeah.
What if all the CTE stuff makes it so a lot of high schools just simply don't have gridiron football? Colleges, the college game will suffer, and then eventually the
Mhm.
NFL is just not going to have players.
Yeah, you need a pipeline for that to work.
Yeah,
And I mean,
but that's
even these players, like, if they get in, it says teams must provide 2 to 4 local winners, and cover their travel and accommodations to compete in 1 to 2 league tentpole events. So even these amateur players who are playing in, they're going to have their travel covered. So these players aren't going to have to reach into their pockets to travel like they did 10 years ago all the way up to now.
Well, if they're good enough, they'll obviously make some sort of
Obviously,
scouting
yeah, yeah.
combine. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, not
obviously.
just every random Joe is going to make it,
No,
but
no,
you know,
absolutely.
people
I
on
mean, of
Call of
course, if
Duty
you practice and you play, just like the Fortnite thing going on now, nobody can just walk up and participate. But yeah,
have all sorts of online qualifiers or whatever, all these local events. Build
exactly.
your way up to your regional thing, make it to the scouting combine, that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Probably get picked up on the equivalent of a contenders team,
Yep.
and obviously from there make it to the pro team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I mean, honestly, for me, I think for everybody involved. I mean, you have your pro players, which are, most of the top people are going to be landing on these teams, which are going to be guarantee them money each year. You're going to have a continued talent pipeline for these amateurs. You're going to continue seeing viewers, especially if these teams, like it's rumored, are going to be, local to their cities. We discussed it last podcast again. You have an entire revenue stream coming in from local events. So there's a lot to look forward to next year. Whether people are excited for it or not, again, like you kind of just got to get ready for it and prepare.
Well, that's the thing too. I really hope that people right now, yeah, they don't want change.
Hmm.
Change can be scary. Change doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good, but with the amount of intellectual capital that's being brought into the league here from these ownership groups, even from just the hires to the league itself, so Joanna Ferries, for
Yeah.
example, you got to think that they've done their market research on this. They've ran modeling on this decades out into the future. It's
Yeah.
not like they just decided one day, okay, let's franchise Call of Duty. They've been doing market studies on this sort of stuff for probably 5 years
I was about to say that would be my guess. About 5 years ago, that's when they really started to sit down and think because that's when, let's see,
now. That's
yeah,
when
it
the
was
first
about
talk and
2014,
Overwatch started.
2013. Yeah,
Exactly, and that's what the story was that Robert Kraft always wanted to start getting into esports or whatever, but he just couldn't find a viable model.
exactly.
And then he actually was the one who approached Bobby Kotick,
He
like,
did.
hey, Overwatch looks pretty cool.
Yep.
And eventually Bobby was like, hey man, do you want to sign on and be our first big fish? Robert Kraft said yes, and then people started jumping on the boat
And then
right
people were
there.
like, "Wow, Robert Kraft committed to this. He must be real. Let's all jump onto it." And sure enough, they
Exactly.
did. So yeah, it didn't.
That's
I mean, obviously, it didn't take long for these other people in Call of Duty to be like, "Yep, let's do it. We got 5 teams already."
exactly, and that's the thing too. So obviously, with Dallas Fuel having their home event, it
Oh
showed that the
yeah,
model can work. People are going to show up in droves to watch this sort of stuff, especially if it's localized like that.
absolutely.
Um, the thing is too, the league's bringing in some really massive sponsors. They signed Coca Cola,
Yeah,
Overwatch League. They also signed Budweiser for mega deals. I think the Coca Cola deal didn't they announce that's $100 million, something
it
something
was
along those
something like
lines.
that. Yeah.
So it shows the model can work. That's why valuations on Call of Duty franchises and buy-ins are so high as well too, because of what is going to be needed as far as infrastructure costs in order to build out this league. Now that's the other thing I want to get into as well. That some people are saying it's too high, or maybe some team needs a discount or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, here's my thoughts on it. Let's say you're buying a GT3 RS, so sports car like Ian purchased last.
Mhm.
If the dealership knows that you're haggling for a $500 discount on a $130,000 vehicle, they know in the back of their minds that you're going to have an issue paying the $3,000 maintenance bills every other month. You're going to struggle paying the insurance premium on it. That's not what they want out of an ownership group. That before they want ownership groups where $25 million is a rounding error,
Mhm.
so that they can just straight up lose money for the first few years, ride it out. Let's think about it this way: Philadelphia Fusion, they're dropping $50 million on an arena for their Overwatch team.
Yep.
They're probably I don't even think their revenue in year 5 will be $25 million.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
even revenue. That's not even their operating income right there.
Yep. And
That's something to
they
think about
actually
there
said the
too.
Overwatch League finals. They're actually going to be in Philly this year. So
Yep.
you can see how that's kind of going along with them, like like for me, my theory is that the reason why the Overwatch League finals are going to be in Philly is so people can get more excited within that area and in that town for that the Fusion Arena to open up, which I then think will then host the first Call of Duty event. That's a big
Uh,
bet, but I don't know if
well,
that's gonna happen. But
it's possible. I mean, I guess if Comcast buys a team,
yeah,
well, Comcast has a ton of cash.
yeah,
Oh, that's
they're
the other
fine.
thing to think about too. Comcast, what, $50 billion? Whatever, they don't
Yeah.
care. That's really interesting to think about too. A dude like Robert Kraft, $6 billion. Comcast, $50 billion. Fox Enterprises, which owns the Atlanta Reign, they
Hmm.
do $20 billion a year in revenue.
Yep.
That is insane.
Yep.
And that's kind of what the league is hoping to get. And I've said before, this is also where traditional sports are going as well too. Like David Tepper purchased Carolina Panthers in the NFL.
Uh huh.
It was 2 seasons ago. A lot of analysts think that he's going to be the last individual billionaire owner, purchaser of an NFL team. Outside of that, it's going to be these large investment groups. So, for example, even the NBA before, the Toronto Raptors,
Hmm.
they were actually owned by the Ontario Teachers. It wasn't just some random dude. It was the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. Just think about that for a second, right?
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. Oh yeah, and actually, I think Comcast were 71.
They're yeah
Yeah.
they're worth a
Yeah, they're pretty high up there. So who do we have above that? Buffett,
um
Gates,
yeah.
Slim, Bezos. Not too many dudes out there.
Yeah, that's honestly like for what I figure. I mean, it kind of leads into like the next point that we have here. Um, People have a idea. Optic, Hundred Thieves, Phase. They're going to be in the league next year. Um, and obviously within Codburners, some of their leaks. Optic and Phase and 100 Thieves were not included in that. And he also said that he spoke to somebody at FaZe and said FaZe is not putting in a bid. So we shouldn't even expect FaZe in next year at all.
Well, I don't know about that, but I guess it'd be kind of terrible if Optic wasn't really around. Well, in some sort of fashion. I wouldn't say it's terrible. I'm sure the league is going to be extremely successful even without them around or any of these traditional organizations around. But
Hmm.
it would be nice to have, those classic faces out there, guys like Heck, guys like Jay. It's everyone in that organization around, even obviously all those guys over at FaZe as well too.
Yeah.
I mean, so it would be kind of sad to see that sort of thing go. Well, for them to not have a team, but also it's kind of a callback to what I was saying before. It doesn't mean that these organizations will just disappear if they don't have an actual team that they own.
Yeah.
Think about FaZe. I think FaZe has transcended actual esports right now.
I think
It's like
so.
Nade Shot really has as well too. Before he decided to come back into 100 Thieves, if you think about it, extremely successful YouTuber, just vlogging random stuff about his life.
Yeah.
You could actually argue he became more popular after he stopped playing Call of Duty. And then let's look at over at FaZe, okay, Tfue. He's giving up competitive Fortnite just to be a vlogger. It's like FaZe's biggest guys are vloggers and YouTube, not esports guys, if you think about it, right? So who's out of Call of Duty? Who probably has the largest social media following on FaZe? It's probably Attach or Tommy. I'd
For
imagine,
the
right?
COD team,
Yeah, for the COD team.
I believe it's Tommy.
Okay, so it probably is somewhere around 800,000, I guess, something like that.
Oh, actually,
And
on Twitter he only
uh,
has 346K.
I thought he had at least 500.
Yeah, I thought he
I
had
mean,
more than that.
I mean, look at their
It's
look at their
attached. All
vloggers
right,
right there.
whatever. But I mean, not that that's
It's
not a low amount, but
yeah, but it's like look at their vloggers. They've got like 5 million followers on
yeah,
Twitter.
I mean, I
It's
think I actually
like
said it to you that like at this point, I honestly believe that Tfue is bigger than Scump right now.
that's possible.
With the
But
with the numbers that he's doing, the popularity that he has, that obviously has to do with the fact that Tfue is playing a much popular game right now, and is appealing to a much wider audience. Um, but FaZe has grown. They're huge. They're not just known for being a COD team anymore. And they're
Yeah,
not
but
even just
yeah,
known for being an esports org either. They are a huge company.
yeah, exactly. And then so it's like Face, they're evolving away from esports more into a talent representation gig or some sort of content alliance. And then that's what I'm saying. I don't think if they're not in Call of Duty or they're not in esports or anything like that, I don't think they're going away. And think about
Mhm.
it this way: you could still have FaZe being repped in Call of Duty World League next year under franchising. Like, let's assume Hatch or Zuma are on some specific team. They could play for, I guess, I don't know, New York, whatever,
Yeah.
and then they could still say member of FaZe Clan,
Mhm.
like Juju Smith on the Steelers, right there.
Yeah.
He's the FaZe guy,
Yep.
but he's primarily on the Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Steelers. I
Yeah.
don't really see an issue with it, and that's where I think the evolution of these organizations are going to into more of a representation of gig for all these guys. Now that also ties into something where I don't see how, where I think Activision realized that this lifestyle type of brand or
It runs
representation gig
very
doesn't,
deep. It
yeah,
runs
it doesn't really
very
make
deep.
sense for growing their league or valuations. I think that's why they're just completely doing away with all of that as
Mhm.
well too, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But imagine so a New York Call of Duty. Let's say they have Scum
Yep.
and they have Attach on there. You know, still have Scum repping Optic and Attach still repping FaZe. It's that they're playing for New York Call of Duty team.
Yeah.
I don't really see an issue with that, but yeah, I don't think these giant orgs are going anywhere. They're just going to shift into more of content and representation, and pretty much being a clique. If you think, well, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
better word than clique,
Yeah.
but
It's a group, like a clan. Honestly, is kind of
exactly.
the best way to put it. I mean, there was an announcement put out. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. Ashley from Optic, Midnight, saying that she's gonna move back home to Minnesota. Obviously, she's still gonna be a part of Optic. She's still gonna be Optic Midnight. Gonna still have Optic in front of her name, but for the most part, she's going back as an independent contractor. She's gonna be off their insurance. And I might like people might have to get used to that happening more with people just having honestly kind of going back to the old days where it was you just had the name attached to you, and there wasn't all of this quote unquote extra stuff added along with it. The pride
I
of
agree.
having Optic to your name is enough. While these other huge orgs and whatnot, that's where you're gonna get the big money and all the huge attention and whatnot.
Because you can do all sorts of collabs with each other and
Mhm.
build each other's social media following. And you could even look at it with Jake Paul and there's his Team 10 incubator right there. He'll find some up and comer. No, you see what I'm saying though.
No, no,
It's
no, no. I
obviously
know,
he
I
doesn't he
know.
doesn't focus on esports or anything
No,
like
no,
that.
but he kind of
Yeah,
takes that
he's doing
idea
big.
where
He
you
takes
get the
it into the
people
mainstream right
exactly,
there. And
exactly.
FaZe is already doing that. I think
Oh, they're absolutely doing
yeah.
that now. They just
Yeah.
signed a little. I'm not gonna say little kid, but he's 13. I believe his name is High Sky, and they're signing more younger players.
Well, not even just players though. Look who they're signing. What they signed Lil Yachty or whatever
Mhm.
to represent them.
Yep.
They have Juju in the NFL.
Yeah, and
It's
was
like
it they're always
they're
throwing huge parties. They always have people
exactly.
over. They are like the collaboration kings over there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But that's the thing too. It's like organizations like FaZe, and I'm sure Optic thinking about as well too. That they're thinking we can actually just break out of this esports mold and just be this giant conglomeration of content creators,
Mm.
influencers. They could eventually turn out becoming the next WMG or IMG. Think about it from the representation standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're making tons of money with their recent merch drop that they did. I believe they said it was announced it was like 16 hours they sold 1 million units. Or sorry, $1 million worth in 16
Oh,
hours, and
yeah,
just off like just off like sweatshirts and a couple things. That's really awesome to hear for the esports side of it, but also I mean for influencers as well. You're seeing more merch drop, and again, that's another revenue stream.
definitely. But also ties back into why Activision doesn't want academic brands around anymore. They want brand new IP, stuff like that. Because why would Activision want to try to build valuation on something that could be removed from the league, not build
Mm-hmm.
valuation for the franchise spot itself? Think about it. So they have FaZe and Optic in there, and you're allowed to play under those two names, right?
Yep.
Any fan of Optic or whatever, if Optic leaves or they decide to relocate somewhere else, or let's say Optic has, I don't know, the LA spot next year, right? They build out all their fans under Optic Gaming or whatever, and then for some reason they decide to also sell their roster to Immortals.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Immortals is trying to buy their LCS spot right
Yeah. Yep.
now. And so Optic's gone for like a year or two, but then they come back and they decide to buy Albuquerque's franchise spot or whatever. Just put their name, Optic Gaming, back in there, right there. Now that LA franchise loses all those fans and everyone just goes back to Optic right there.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying here?
Yep.
That's so different from how traditional sports leagues work with ownership groups. Like I said, John Henry used to own the Marlins.
Yeah.
Then he sold it. He was out of the game for a little bit. Then he bought the Red Sox. Fans didn't follow him. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Michael Jordan, owned part of the Wizards. Had to give up his ownership share so he could play 2 more seasons with the Wizards, which everyone would like to forget happened. And then they kicked him to the curb. They wouldn't give him his shares back. Then he founded the Bobcats. Same thing right there. And that's the thing. Activision doesn't want you to be able to pull value out of that league spot right there. They don't want to build your name for you. It's a bad deal for them. Why would they consider doing that? That's the thing too. If the franchise spot's valuation goes down because some name is not attached with it anymore, then the valuation of all these other franchises goes down. Valuation on the league goes down, and then you end up with people that are really pissed off that they probably dropped $100 million by then into something, and then that valuation is just removed from them overnight.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense, and that's really why these traditional organization names can't be in this future league. Top of that, too, now we were talking about regionalization, geolocation,
Yep.
and stuff. And if you think about it, let's go back to the Red Sox example there. For a Red Sox fan, you don't care who owns the team. How do you build that up? You build it up over decades, maybe centuries, that team being there. Something that you can pass down fandom of to your son and your grandson, and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then eventually these teams get associated with a certain almost a certain culture for the area. So let's look at Pittsburgh and their localization. So the whole term Yinzers, I don't know if any of you guys are from Pennsylvania or know what I'm talking about, but the whole Yinzer culture is associated with the Pittsburgh Steelers already. And that's how you actually build loyalty and value into a brand after a while. And you can't have that with traditional organization names.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've discussed it ever since the first podcast that we did that organization names aren't going to be a thing. They don't make sense. Even though you may not, necessarily agree with Activision's decision, but it's going to be a thing. Even for Overwatch League, teams to potentially use those in Call of Duty, those wouldn't work either.
I'm definitely not. Just taking over. It really wouldn't make sense. You're
No.
just creating a new brand that you can remove from the league. Why would you build that valuation?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. It really doesn't make sense. And on top of that, too, I guess some people were suggesting, oh, why don't you just be the Dallas Envy or the Dallas whatever,
Yeah.
or the Houston Green Wall? But I imagine those names, that sort of stuff's already trademarked, and Activision would.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like Optic
Yeah.
Gaming is trademarked and all of
Yeah,
that. Which
yeah.
even Codburner said in the document said everybody's gonna have the organizations are responsible for dealing with their new name and branding and all of that. So yeah.
Yeah,
Um yeah, so again, it's just something we're all just gonna have to sit and deal with. It was mentioned in the chat before that Crim, Scump, and Karma, they're not going to move due to the fact that they have houses.
well,
And it was
if they want to keep playing, they're gonna have to move.
thank you,
They're gonna have to move to LA. I'm sorry.
thank you.
I could honestly, I could see Seth retiring. That kid's been extremely successful, and if that's his prerogative, that's
Yeah, I
fine.
believe somebody else in chat said that they think his time is like come, like he's not like at his peak anymore. That's up for debate. I don't know,
I don't
but
know about
I
that. Seth's
think
pretty nasty.
he is absolutely. But I think right now would be a good, maybe give it a year for the new league. I don't know, but I would like to see him try and do something that Nate Shot did. Make his own org. Do your own thing. Be bigger than what you are.
Eventually see that, but as though I know Seth is, he really likes doing his own thing.
Mhm.
I don't think money isn't a big motivating factor for Seth. Winning is, and taking care of his family, taking care of his brother, taking care of his mom. That's really what motivates Seth. That's what I always liked about him. This guy's making a lot of cash right now, but he doesn't really spend it.
Mhm.
And yeah,
He even said it in one of Hector's vlogs that like he doesn't really spend money on things. The biggest like money drain right now for him is his house, which I mean
yeah,
he's worked hard as hell for that. That's well earned in my
yeah,
opinion.
well earned.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day, like you said, like Activision isn't stopping or holding for anybody, regardless of who you are and what you've done in the community. If you want to play, like you gotta move. You gotta adhere to these rules.
You pretty much have to, because I mean, some of the stars these days might try to put their foot down and say, "Okay, well, I'm not going to play." Activision's going to sit there and look, this is a multi-decade long project here. We don't expect you that still be playing a decade from now. You're probably going to
Yeah.
retire by then.
Yep.
So this league will last longer than these players are playing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's be real. This league might be around longer than some of these players' careers.
Well, that's what Activision's hoping for.
Yeah.
I've said before, companies like Activision, Intel, Electronic Arts, pretty much anybody on the S&P 500 or whatever, they think in decades. They don't think year to year. They think
Mhm.
in decades. They already have roadmaps all the way out to 2070.
Yep.
They're not looking at 5 years from now, 3 years from now, even 10 years from now. They're looking to grow this and make this last forever.
Yeah.
Like when the NBA was formed, NFL, when these leagues were formed, they weren't thinking they were going to be gone in 10 years or something like that.
Mhm.
Then I don't know. Some people are going to be upset that a lot of the brands probably won't be around next year, but it's just really what it is. And
Yeah.
well, that's the
Yeah.
other thing too. Okay, if one of these organizations wants to pay, I don't know, San Antonio Slayers or whatever to throw their logo on there, I'm sure that team probably would be like, okay, give us like $5 million. We'll put your gaming esports organization's name on here as another sponsor. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I could kind of see that maybe.
Actually, that would be kind of cool. Maybe if like you have I don't know, the LA whatever optics thing would be
That's
in
kind of
LA, and then you kind of have
crazy
like
just
the
thinking
optic
about names,
logo
right?
like on the sleeve. Like that would be kind
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
cool. I would be
Exactly.
down for that. I mean, I think
Just
I think that would definitely, give a nod to the existing IP.
well, I mean, they'd have to pay for it, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Yeah, but I
But
mean, if you get your logo out there and all the jerseys and the merch and all that, I mean, I think it'd be
uh,
worth it.
but yeah, at times though, I think some people get too caught up on what they want to call the history of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's fine. And that's the thing, though. I really see us as entering a third era of organized competitive Call of Duty. Or, well, let's say we're leaving the CWL era,
Mhm.
okay, where we had the LAN League or an actual thing where you had to qualify in for it. Before that, I guess it was just open tournaments where people would show up and beat up on each other. So I'd
Yeah.
say that was the first era. CWL era is era number two, and then new era we'd be entering is what Call of Duty League era, whatever they're calling COD League, whatever. So that's fine, and maybe these teams were big in the CWL era, but it doesn't mean that they're going to last for eternity. And let's look before the CWL era. What happened to teams like Unite or Impact or Strictly Business? All these orgs that were around a lot, and they're no longer existent these days.
Uh huh.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a new league. Okay, so think about it this way: before the NBA was formed, there was a professional basketball in the United States. It's called the American Basketball League. That existed until I think 1930 or so. I believe the NBA was formed in 1945, or the Basketball Association of America. I think that was the name of it. So what happened to all those original teams in the ABL? They just simply ceased to exist.
Yeah.
How about let's look at soccer and what the EPL has only really been around in its current form or fashion what, the early 90s. Soccer obviously wasn't invented in the UK. It was actually invented in China in what, 2000 BC or whatever. What happened to all those teams and leagues there too? Doesn't really.
Time moves on
No.
and things
I mean, yeah.
change.
So I okay. So I don't want to upset any Optic fans if they're in the chat because I know those guys. I like those guys. Look up to Hector as a dude I would love to have a beer with and put his brain on. Or just generally anybody in any of these esports operations teams right there. I'm sure they have a wealth of knowledge that everybody could benefit from knowing. But like Optic will always be a part of Call of Duty competitive history, even if they're not part of this new league here. Optic isn't just going to disappear overnight. Hector isn't just going to disappear from the face of the earth. He's still going to be around.
Absolutely not.
That
No.
guy, that guy, you could probably even argue he started the whole esports thing, not just Call of Duty,
Mm.
whole esports industry.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Optic was really like the first quote unquote organization that made people go, holy shit, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. That's doing such good numbers. And then you had FaZe, and then you had the Red Reserve Snipe team, and then you had the Obey. Like, there was so many that came after it. There's
I
always
know,
one,
yeah.
and Optic, seemingly at that time, was that one that started the movement.
But obviously nobody knows what's going on with Optic's finances. I'm sure there's rumors out there, and I don't really like commenting on rumors. It's not my place to. Of course, I'm just not informed enough to know what's going on with any organization. So I don't like commenting on other organizations
Uh
like
huh.
that or what I think their plans might be. Nobody knows except them. It would be really disrespectful to say anything or make any sort of assumptions or even discuss that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I would kind of see it the same as like let's say you got a married couple you're friends with, then you and your other buddies one night just want to have a discussion on whether they would divorce each other or some crap like that. I
Yep.
think it's just like lowbrow conversation to have. So
Yeah.
it's not something I really want to talk about.
That's
Like,
fair. That's
yeah,
completely fine.
it'd be really cool to have Optic around, have all these names around, and obviously,
Hmm.
uh, well, I don't know for sure, but I'd I'd guess that Optic and Hector would love to be in it next year. But and if they're not going to disappear. It's not like everybody's going to forget their contributions to the scene.
Yeah.
Same time, too, Activision's probably looking at it and thinking, well, we also have to be fair to all these big money guys coming in here.
Hmm.
We can't show favoritism to any sort of current organization out there. And I'm sure they've done their own market research to see what happens with the viewership, and optics not playing or whatever. And then I think really with CWL London, I have even solidified it for them that they don't need all these traditional org names. Like look at the championship right there, 81,000 consecutive viewers right there for 100 Thieves
Yeah.
United
Yeah.
in
Not
a
not not
in a
huge.
kind of a weird time slot if you think about it too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too. Anybody at that event can tell you it wasn't just people cheering for Optic or FaZe, 100 Thieves. They were cheering for everybody, every single match, even at the
That
Bravo,
yeah
Charlie,
that
and
that
Delta
crowd
stations.
that crowd was legendary.
Yeah,
Like, I wasn't
but
even
yeah,
there and I felt it. They were rooting for everybody,
yeah,
and it did, like, apparently, like, even after, like, the Optic crowd was out or whatever, the Optic fans were then rooting for other teams. So,
that's
like,
it. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
that's how it should be, and that's the thing too. Obviously, a lot of the European fans, though, since they have the European event there, that actually shows the power of gelocating franchises. Though,
Mhm.
imagine that sort of hooliganism in the good way built
Hooliganism.
up over decades and
Uh-huh.
decades right there. Just that passion for your team you have there.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're really going to get that with traditional organization names or something that's not geolocated. Just think about how passionate all those guys were. I think, yeah, so I guess even on the side stations, one of the chants was, Buskin can shag who he wants. Just stuff like that.
The UK
Oh,
crowd
yeah.
was
Yeah, it's great
always,
times.
yeah, they're creative. Definitely creative. Um a couple people in chat are just commenting on, like, viewership for, like, set events. Imagine having only getting one huge brand in the league, like 100 Thieves or Optic. They get
Okay, you only have
eliminated
one.
from a huge event
Well,
halfway through it, and then viewership goes from 100K to 15 to 20K.
okay, then people say, hey, we really need FaZe around. I know those FaZe guys. I love all of them. Know all those players. But let's be real here. FaZe wasn't around for the
For
first
half,
half of
yeah,
the
they
league.
weren't around for half of the year. Yep.
and viewership was much better in this game than it was in World War II. That goes back to what we said probably in the first podcast, that fans want to see high level play. They want to see things done that the average guy can do. They want to be excited and entertained when they watch people play. Then after that, they want to see storylines.
Hmm.
And storylines can drive to underperforming teams viewership when they're playing each other. Obviously,
Yep.
like you'll see this. I guess you see it now. You know what I'm saying. You see in all these other sports out there
Yeah.
too, where
Yeah.
they're last place, but they're playing each other. There's a storyline there
Yep.
because of some roster move that might have happened. But first and foremost, people want to see high level players. What NYXL right now? I guess they have some massive viewership. It's all Korean players,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
It's all Korean players. I
Yeah.
don't
You
want to
have
come out and say they have no personalities or anything. They do, but
yeah.
I mean, they're not an XQC or they're not a Scump. They're not a Maddie Marshall Scraps. See
Hmm.
what I'm saying? But people still want to see them play.
Because it's like yeah, I mean bunch of these players go on stage, and a lot of these commentators and analysts are like, God, they look like a machine, they look like a robot. It's like, yeah, because they're only focused on one thing, and that's
Exactly.
playing the
You
game
want to see the
perfectly.
exactly. People want to see that high level of execution that you're not going to get in your standard game battles or your standard pickup game. That's why viewership will still be there, in my opinion, even if these traditional org names are not there, or even if a big popular org gets eliminated, because people will eventually become fans of high level plays. That's just simply how it is. Like, who was a Manchester City fan, really? Or bought it, and then they just put a ton of money into it, so they're actually competitive. It happened in the past 10 years. I'm blanking right now. I'm pretty tired, guys. See what I mean? Though people
Yeah.
will watch just because a team is entertaining to watch or they're good.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's the other thing that brings it on too, is obviously, the good players. They cost a lot of money. And next year we talked a little bit about the team expenses, what salaries are going to be looking like. Um, Obviously, it's going to be costing 25 million minimum for these organizations to buy in, but they're also going to have to be
Yeah, I'm
providing
hearing.
chefs
I'm
and
hearing it's way more than 25 right now. There's
yeah.
so much demand
Well,
for
the
this,
the one rumor
especially
right
after they
now is
announced Budweiser.
yeah, LA alone is 60 million.
I'd believe it, honestly. I
Yeah.
would straight up believe that
Yep. Yeah,
easily.
my guess was 75 million for LA. And
Yeah,
it's
I
damn close right now.
I wouldn't even be surprised if somebody just wants to come over the top and says 100 million.
Probably.
Final bid, take
It
it or
wouldn't
leave it, right
surprise
there.
me. It wouldn't surprise me,
Yeah, I'm
especially
just
the way it went this year, with salaries and whatnot. There was a huge number being offered, and then somebody else came along and it was like, nah, how's this?
something like that. Yeah, exactly. That's really what it is, though. And you can't really blame Activision for taking the highest bids or the players
It's a
last year for taking the
business.
second
Like,
off.
yeah, you'd be
Exactly.
silly.
But hey, it's a business. Activision has shareholders to answer to. They have a fiduciary obligation to maximize profits to every single shareholder out there. That's another thing people don't understand. It's like, yeah, a guy like Bobby Kotick got a $60 million bonus this year, but part of that was also his current shares appreciating in value.
Uh huh.
Most of these stockholders, it's those mom and pops out there, middle-aged parents that are buying 100 shares at a time because they're trying to build up a college fund for their kid.
Yeah.
It's not going to all these wealthy mega billionaires all the time. Most of these shareholders in these public companies, smaller dudes,
Yeah.
might even be indirect ownership too through a mutual fund.
Hmm.
So that's the other thing too. So some people might be like, well, this firm here owns 15% of the shares, but
Yeah.
I
That was
realize,
another thing that came up with it, with the Immortals discussion going after Optic, because apparently Immortals is going after a share of Infinite. So if you break it down, how much is Immortals going after? Will it give them this and that? It's a lot of
well,
yeah.
that's interesting to talk about too, because was it Clutch Gaming sold off their LCS spot to
They
Dignitas,
did. Yep.
$20 million. Yep.
Yep.
And ironically enough, so Dignitas is owned by Harris Blitzer, that group. They
Uh huh.
also own the Sixers, Philadelphia 76ers, and the New Jersey Devils. So
Yes.
that just goes back into that conversation we had earlier about how it's kind of weird cheering for an ownership group,
Uh huh.
because Harris Blitzer doesn't own the Sixers and the Flyers.
Yeah.
They own the Sixers and the Devils. And obviously, the corresponding NBA team, New Jersey, would, well, Brooklyn now would be the Nets, but I'm sure a
Yeah.
lot of Jersey fans are
Yeah.
still cheering for the Nets.
Yep.
So it's kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah,
So,
it's
fun.
honestly, I don't think I know anybody in my personal life that actually roots for like ownership. Like it's
Yeah,
always
no, that's
just
what I'm saying. It's
teams.
always something weird. I don't want
Yeah.
to call it weird, but that's different about esports, I'd
Uh huh.
say.
Well, that's how
And
it started.
like,
That's how it started.
yeah,
Was
yeah,
the
yeah, it's more of
organizations.
where it was more of pretty much teams sponsoring player. Let's just call it sponsorship, so they play under a certain banner or whatever.
Yeah.
So it builds some sort of awareness for their team.
Yep.
I don't know. Now, so now I don't know. It's just some people just can't get away from that, and that's fine. And I've said before, like if you want to cheer for an ownership group, go ahead. Nobody's saying that's wrong. But what I've always been trying to say is that that's really not the way to build valuation in a franchise.
Yeah.
I'll compare it to cheering for players right now. There's a ton of Vince Carter fans out there that have only been Vince Carter
Oh
fans
yeah. Oh
or
yeah.
only been LeBron fans. So,
Yep.
you know, they own two Cavaliers jerseys, a Heat jersey, and a Lakers jersey. That's perfectly fine. Do what you want. Do what makes you happy. And then also, it goes into what I'm saying too. It's like even if Optic purchases the LA spot and you live in Dallas, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to cheer for Dallas. If you want to cheer for Optic out of the LA spot, cheer for them. Like a lot of Americans, they cheer for Barcelona, Manchester United, or whatever. And I'm willing to bet a lot of them haven't even left the country, but they're diehard fans of Barca or Juve. And to see what I'm saying here, so it's
Yeah.
like if you want to cheer for that team, go ahead and cheer for it. It's fine. But at the same time, too, don't be upset at other people who want to cheer for their geolocated team.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
interesting talk,
Yeah.
right? I know it's probably not too popular with a lot of the viewers, but
No,
it's just the
like
future.
the viewers right now, like, uh, I can't like be mad because I literally have an Optic Gaming book like right next to me. But a lot of us, when we came into the Call of Duty community, it was Optic, and we essentially grew up with them from the Russell Drive house to the Scuff house to what we have now. It's it is essentially like a cult. I can't even lie. They are extremely dedicated, and if there is a possibility of this, I'm gonna say league, not including the team that basically built it up. It's almost a slap in the face to people who did put in that work, and I think
Well,
that's where the fans get upset.
well, here's the thing. But then you could look at a guy like Hastro, Envy, Overwatch League, has a Call of Duty World League spot, and I don't want to say that it would be like corporate welfare to just give somebody a spot or just handhold them into a spot, especially if they don't have the funds for it.
Hmm.
But if Castro was able to do that, why couldn't other people? Did he just out operate
Yeah.
the other teams?
Yeah. I mean, I
Right?
don't know if it's a thing where like these Overwatch League teams got first rights to like the bid. I'm gonna assume they did because that's
Yeah.
how it seems
What
like
was
it
it?
looks.
Richard. I think Richard Lewis. I think it was last year.
Oh yeah,
Part of
yeah,
the deal for Overwatch was that
yeah.
you had
You had
first dibs on your city right there.
yeah. I think
So
it was technically first endemic rights. I think that was like the
yeah,
thing of it.
so
But yeah,
I'd assume that Dallas, well, Astro got in at 25 million on Dallas, but if that went on the open market, that's probably going higher than
yeah,
25 million.
yes,
So, like I said, I don't really want to comment on other team situations. I
hmm,
don't know it, but
yeah. That's fair.
from there, you could probably extrapolate something out from
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Oh, but then I also look at Genji. Genji is very cash flush. Got an Overwatch team out of Seoul, but
Yeah.
obviously they wouldn't want that Seoul market for Call of
No,
Duty.
my
There's an
thought was
index
that they'd
on.
probably go for L.A.
Yeah, I'd imagine LA. It might be San Francisco because their founder and CEO, I believe, he went to Cal.
Okay.
Maybe he goes there, but then again, you have San Francisco Shock there, and Andy Miller's there.
Yep.
Andy Miller owns part of Sacramento Kings, who is an ex-Apple executive. Really smart guy, really nice dude too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so
Yeah.
it'd
Esports
be
is
kind of
familiar with him.
interesting to see
Yeah,
how
he's a
that
good
goes.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of interesting to see how things shake out around there.
Mhm.
It's, oh, I mean,
Um.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, I believe, in the first podcast with players possibly forming a union. So the Overwatch League, if we are going to kind of follow the rhetoric that Codburner is putting out there, that Overwatch League is essentially going to be copy pasted over to the Call of Duty League. Um, so the Overwatch players right now currently do not have a union. However, at any point they choose, they can form a union. Um, if this was to follow along with the Call of Duty League, the players would have the option to form a union. What do you think would happen or would have to happen for a union to be formed for the Call of Duty League players?
Well, pragmatically, they would just have to vote on it and agree to form a union. But with the union, there's ancillary costs involved. I don't necessarily understand what a union exists to do
Uh huh.
and why it exists, the costs associated with it. But in order for a union to get started, I would need to see, well, we would need to see like the larger established players fight.
Yeah.
So you'd have to get your scumps, your karmas, your attaches, your claysters, slashers, your octanes, all those kinds of guys. I'm sure there's other big names. Yes, I'm just, but
Spouting off a few. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they would have to all band together and say, okay, well, we're not going to play until we're unionized. We really see this happening? I don't know. And they'd probably need to get a majority of the players to agree to it that are already in.
Yeah,
So
then
it
they're
probably
gonna
wouldn't
have to
happen
have
in
a
year
head
one.
of the union. Yeah.
On top of that, too, how unions generally work is part of your paycheck is taken out every month and paid as union dues. That's pay for legal assistance for whatever the union needs, and they build up pretty much a war chest for if the players or any worker in any industry, any unionized industry wants to strike. Just think about it. If you strike, it means you're not getting paid, but you're
Yep.
also not working. A lot of people wouldn't do that without the assistance from the union having a war chest of funds to keep paying these people, these union members, while they're on strike and not being paid by their employer. Now, are players going to want to devote a lot of cash to that? I don't know. On top of that, too, main benefit for unionization, and actually there's negative as well for the players, in my opinion, would be so you could collectively bargain. So, obviously, collectively bargain means that you elect your officials to bargain on your behalf. So, you have this in the NBA, NFL, and NHL, even MLB. CBA is called collective bargaining agreements. It means that the players' union came to agreement with the league owners, team owners themselves. Came out with salary structures for minimum salary, maximum salary, revenue sharing, all sorts of healthcare benefits, all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
Didn't the NFL
Uh,
go through a union restructuring a couple years ago?
yeah,
Mhm.
but that's the thing too. So why would you really unionize, fight over revenues when there are no revenues for the first few years? There's no
Mm.
pie there to share. Because let's look at the NBA. So 51% of BRI, basketball related income,
Yeah.
is earmarked for the players. So if the teams all spend at the minimum salary amounts, at the end of the year they do a calculation, and then the league teams have to pay all that money to the players union and it gets divvied up
Yeah.
appropriately. But there are no revenues in the first few years. Let's be real here. Even Overwatch and Activision said that they're going to have to run in the red to start. So what pie is there to fight over? These owners could just simply say, okay, let's just not operate, and they'd actually save money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't really see unionization being a thing. There's no money there.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think about what are you going to do? Threaten to not play? So you lose
Threaten to
money.
not
But
play
owners
any.
are sitting there
Yeah.
thinking, well, if you guys don't play, then technically I actually don't lose money.
And I'm pretty sure at that
So
point, even if like theoretically they were to strike, they would still be under Activision contract, so they
exactly.
couldn't stream their
Well,
game and like I don't
here's
know
the
if that would be a thing, but like that could be a
oh,
possibility.
yeah. Well, here's the other thing too. Okay, this hasn't been settled in a higher court yet, but
Hmm.
whole issue of streaming, that's still a legal gray area. And if Activision really wanted to stop all these streams or any of these publishers, they probably could right
Yeah.
now. But they see
Nintendo
it
does
as
that.
exactly with all these Let's Plays that are
Yep.
uploaded to YouTube,
Yep.
Nintendo takes them all down.
Oh yeah.
Now, how is that any different from playing a single player game, a point and click adventure on Twitch? Like, I've had users that come to my own stream here and they're like, yo, Edgar, hey, actually, thanks for playing this game, man, because you have really nice graphics and stuff, single player game. I got to see the story, I got to enjoy it. Now I know I don't need to spend $60. go buy it and play it myself because I can just watch your VOD or I watched you play it. It's cool. Just like a game like uh what is the name of that game? They just came out with a second one. Uh some girl. I think based on time traveling or something. It's one of those like big Telltale type of games. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I can't think
That
of it.
right there. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I'm blanking on it too right
Oh
now,
my
but
God. Yeah,
it's
we're
like, do you
both
really need
really
to play that
tired.
through yourself?
Yeah, I
Yeah, do
know.
you
I know
really
what you're
need to
talking
play
about.
that
I
through
think it's
yourself? No.
Ubisoft. Life
Yeah,
is
Life is
Strange.
Strange.
Thank
There
you.
we go.
Thank you.
It's like after you watch somebody play through it, do
Mhm.
you really need to watch? Do you really want to play through it yourself?
Yeah, that's true. I
Maybe
do that.
not.
I do that honestly. Like if there's a time like where I'm like I'm busy, I don't have time to play a game, I'll pop a let's play on my monitor and I'm like, "All right,
Yeah, just watch it. Just
done."
watch it. Why not, right?
Yep.
That way
Yep.
you don't have to deal with clicking through all this crap or whatever. And then
Exactly.
publishers can say, okay, well, you're actually costing us money with all these live streams and let's plays, so they could, if they really want to, be like, yo, oh, okay, so you decided to take this action. Guess what? Now we're going to exercise our right to
Mhm.
hit you with copyright claims. And what happened this week and last week with those leaked pictures or whatever?
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say Activision has no problem forcing their
No.
legal rights right there.
No, they're fine. I'm pretty sure they have the money to where if God forbid somebody was actually going to hold them up in court in litigation, Activision would be
But
fine,
there
but the
you
other
go.
person
Yeah.
wouldn't.
They're billions and billions of dollars.
Yep.
Good luck. They are going to tie
Exactly.
you up in litigation for a decade.
Mhm. Exactly. All right. Well, I guess for the rest of the topics, those are over. Leading that is going into our community questions. Again, collected questions from our Reddit thread, which is still open, thank God. Also have a couple questions from Twitch chat and things like that. Um, so first off is from Domo Domo. He's said, Panda, can you ask Edgar if the league is going to be like the NBA paying wise? For example, LeBron gets paid more than James Harden. So would Scump get paid more than our cities?
First of all, I believe James Harden makes more than LeBron right now in straight up salary because of collective bargaining agreements and there's structured contracts there. They're based on your previous contract amount plus what your team has on their cap and plus what they're going to tag you as a franchise player. But as far as that goes, nobody knows what the structure is going to be like right now. And it actually ties back to negatives of collective bargaining. Um, maximum salaries, minimum salaries, those are all collectively bargained, and that right there means that it's not a purely open market. So let's say the NBA didn't have a collective bargaining agreement and it was open season.
Mhm.
Somebody would probably give LeBron $100 million to play, but there's a cap on that, obviously, because of collective bargaining agreement. So yeah, there are negatives to it as well. But yeah, so right now, next year nobody knows what Activision is going to do. Right now, I'd assume that they're going to allow players to sign for whatever amount they want. And let's look at Overwatch right now. I don't think they have a set salary structure, especially because they're not unionized, so they couldn't have had a CBA created to begin with. Yeah,
Yeah. Um.
answer your
Okay. Yeah. Good enough for me. Um. If Optic or FaZe do not land a city franchise spot, do you see the viewership taking a major hit?
no,
No. Easy. We pretty much already covered
no,
that.
no, no, definitely not.
um, and do you think Activision will work with them on landing a spot just for the simple fact that they have more than half of the entire COD base?
Okay, let's think about it this way. Let's say there's no draft or whatever, and Optic doesn't get a spot, but somebody signs that full roster of 5.
Uh huh.
Don't you think everybody's just going to watch that roster? Everyone who's an Optic fan is going to watch that new team
Yep.
if they're based out of Albuquerque. There you go. So
Yeah.
on top of that, too, going into what I was saying about having to incentivize people. Part of the reason that these franchise bids have to be so high is it weeds out the guys that are going to be worried about an extra million or two that they lose. Activision doesn't want that because they
Yeah.
don't want any of these franchises to ever have to fold because they ran out of cash.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prevent that? Make sure you get the richest of the richest guys involved,
Yeah.
where they don't care about losing $10 million a year for a decade straight before they start breaking. And if you're having an issue with the initial franchise fee payment, then they know you're going to have an issue losing 13 million the first year on top of that.
Uh huh. Okay. Easy enough. All right, here's a good one actually. From Don Snaps just now. With stripping of all the brands, what's stopping the league from collapsing like the XFL did?
Right, well, first of all, the XFL didn't really collapse because of lack of brands. It was just really lack of interest, and because the NFL didn't want it to exist. On top of that, too, costs were really high. The groups investing in them weren't willing to lose hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really going to go the way of XFL. And on top of that, too, you have something called Activision backing this league, and this will be the sole league for the top level competition. And Activision will not let it fail.
Yeah.
They will pump so much money into this because they have shareholders to answer to. XFL didn't really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I watched. Oh my God, when did the XFL come out? The 2000s, I think. I think I like watched one or two games just because like it was interesting. But again, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
nothing's really gonna beat
people want to
NFL.
see people want to see the high level plays. That's it.
Uh huh.
And XFL was just really sloppy.
Yeah.
Look at low
Exactly.
scoring games. People didn't find it interesting. It was a turnover.
Yeah. Um. I mean, we'll just continue on with this one. How does he not think viewership will take a hit? While it is true that brands slash orgs bring in viewership, so does the game that they are playing. Look at Call of Duty World War II.
Okay, so what's your point? So make sure the game's good. And that's the thing too, I guess what was it that you're putting in this much cash, you're gonna have a say over the game. So Activision is gonna do everything possible to make sure that is a well balanced, entertaining game to play and to watch. And okay, so brands and orgs are bringing in viewership. Let's think about it this way. Optic and FaZe both signed amateur players.
Uh
They
huh.
just ignored the scumps of the world guy and picked guys that were ranked 1000 on the pro points ladder. Are people really going to keep watching that?
Not at all.
There you go. There's your answer right there.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Makes sense, but if the big names pull out, why can't there be a lack of interest?
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, because there's always going to be somebody coming up in the pipeline. A lot of you guys didn't even hear of Dashy until some of you probably heard of him when he started playing on Complexity. But before that, you guys know he's playing on E6. I remember when he was tweeting about running around with a shovel if E6 didn't release him from his $30,000 buyout. Oh, but now he's probably one player that everybody wants to watch right now. And that goes back to, hey, if there's entertaining plays to be made, people are going to watch because they want to watch guys like Dashy. I think Dashy is going to retire right now. Let's just say I'd bet against you.
um, yeah, somebody else in chat said, Krim and Scump said they are retiring after this year. They're looking for the tweet. Um,
Oh, well,
yeah,
if they're already going to retire, I guess they're going to retire anyway. So then validates all these other opinions that, oh my God, well, these orgs and these players need to stay around, or else viewership's going to take a hit,
yeah,
right? If they already said they're going to retire no matter what after the season, that's it. Activision doesn't even really care because, like, well, we don't expect you to play 10 years from now anyway, but we expect this league to be around.
mm-hmm.
And look at Philadelphia building out their $50 million facility. Complexity down in Dallas building out their facility with GameSpot as their sponsor on that.
Yeah,
They're not looking at the next 2 years. They're looking at 2070, 2080, 2120.
mm-hmm.
Call of Duty esports for them needs to outlast everybody. It needs to outlast Bobby Kotick's tenure as CEO, Activision.
Yeah. Do you think Call of Duty will be up there with the top games in terms of viewership in the near future, like CS:GO and Overwatch League?
I think with enough promotion and obviously some sort of relocation system right now, I believe it could eventually get up there. Now, do I think it's really going to surpass something like League of Legends? Probably not, but that doesn't mean it can't be profitable and successful. But let's look at Dallas Fuel 2 weekends ago or whatever. So they sold 9,000 tickets, probably what, $60 a pop, right? That's $540,000 in ticket sales right there. And just think about the concessions and merch sales. Imagine they're doing that every, I don't know, let's say they end up doing that 8 times a year or whatever. 8 home games. I don't know how many Overwatch teams there are, 20, something like that, right? let's say 8 home games. So just extrapolate all that income out, all that revenue out. You can
Hmm.
see it'll be profitable that way.
Yeah. Um, what do you think about the local fan city events that orgs will have to run for the amateur players?
I think it's great. Like I said, it builds out the pipeline for the little Timmy, 13 years old, the future simps out there, the future
Yep.
Celiums, those guys who grinded it out and are seeing the fruits of their labor, making it to the top level of pros right there.
Hmm.
That's the thing too. I think some people are thinking that these guys who made it to the top did not grind their asses off for years to make tons of sacrifices.
Yeah.
I found this one video on YouTube where Aches pretty much telling his stream how much he had to sacrifice, how he had to sneak in playing like under the covers or whatever, and then sleep 2 hours and go to school, even when his parents didn't want him to play, all that sort of stuff. You gotta make sacrifices. You gotta grind.
Kill is another one
Yep.
of those.
It's
Who
not going to.
always
This
talks
is
about
not
that.
going to be. This is not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
Even all these Olympians you see out there, like the Michael Phelpses and stuff, they pretty much gave up their childhoods to chase their dreams.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're
Absolutely.
swimming, yeah, the homeschooled, all that sort of stuff. I
Yeah.
honestly, I don't even know how Simp does it right now.
I
That kid
don't.
is
Yeah.
dedicated.
Apparently, he's homeschooled and he is pulling out tons of hours in Call of Duty. He is turning out content for E
Well, I
United.
think he probably only has like a month left, and then he graduates. But
I mean,
there you go, right
still. I
there,
mean, at that point,
grinding it out.
I'm not sure exactly sure how homeschooling goes, but even then, boy got finals.
Exactly.
And he's grinding it out. So yeah, there's definitely going to be room for these new players to come in.
Exactly. And
Uh,
Dream's gonna
yeah.
rise to the top. The ones who want it are the ones that are going to get better.
Yep.
And so there's all this theory out there that takes 10,000 hours of you doing something until you achieve mastery or top level performance. And that's
Hmm.
really what these players have to do. Grind it out, playing
Absolutely.
as much as you can. Honestly, not everyone's gonna make it to the pro leagues. Let's be real here. How
Yeah.
many people grow up with a soccer ball in between their feet? They can never even make it to their club level team at school or whatever. It just happens. Sorry.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm collecting the last round of questions to end it out for the night. But I mean, this podcast specifically tonight. I mean, obviously we kind of get to confirm a little bit more with these burner leaks, but essentially everything that the burner said in those documents, with or without the pictures, pretty much confirmed a lot of stuff that you've kind of been saying for the past two podcasts.
And it's
Um,
pretty
yeah.
easily extrapolated. Just
Mhm.
um no well kind of obvious to me what's going to happen. It's like, look, we've got Overwatch League.
Yeah.
So there's that the mold is already there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, let's see another question. How are people going to pay 25 million and more for a game that like Call of Duty that's not competitive day one? Yes.
Obviously that's gonna
Yes, it
obviously
is.
that's gonna have to change.
I mean,
And
no,
they're
it
paying
no,
this because
yeah,
they're looking at future valuations down the
yeah,
line.
yeah,
All these investment groups that are coming in, they're not dumb guys. They're not just being called up by Activision like, hey, yeah, so do you want to give us $70 million for this spot in our league? No, what they're going to do is they're going to kick it down to their offices. They're going to kick it down to their advisors. They're going to do all sorts of financial modeling. They're going to find out what MIRR is, NPV, ADC, all sorts of metrics out there which tell you if this looks like it can be a viable investment.
yeah,
Obviously, a lot of the people commenting like, "Oh no, there's no way this is worth that much money." I'm willing to bet they don't even know what MIRR is or what the difference is between that and regular IRR.
no,
There you go.
no,
Or I mean, this also ties into Reddit, I guess, or Twitter because everybody on those websites went to
no.
law school, went to
They
medical
graduated with a
school,
law
and
degree. Absolutely.
exactly,
Yep.
exactly right. Yet they don't even know what mens rea is. Like, okay, but, but yeah, I'm not trying to roast chat or anything like that or talk down to you guys. I'm just trying to highlight that these are not dumb guys that are investing into this sort of stuff here. Not dumb guys who came up with this plan over the course of 5 years. And these people they hired from other industries, like they even got Cody Johnson back on what a $40 million bonus. And Joanna Ferry's very brilliant woman,
Mhm.
successful career, NFL.
Absolutely.
So
When
I
I
mean,
when I
these
saw the and I actually wrote an article on her coming over from the NFL. I was so excited because she's
yeah.
done some good stuff and I think she could do some excellent things for Call of Duty that can make
Yeah,
it bigger
then
than what it is now.
even guy Envy hired president COO over there. I think it was Jeff Moore. Very smart guy as well too. You guys might want to check up on his accomplishments in the past there.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's that's what I'm saying. It's Call of Duty is about to enter its golden age. Esports is about to enter its golden age right
Yeah.
here. Like Bobby Kotick and Activision figured out that these entities right there that want to be some effectively an agency with a huge brand, then cover its talent bills with esports or whatever, doesn't work as a model right there. So now Activision realizes, hey, we need to make more cash available to these franchises. How do you do that?
Hmm.
Localized events right there, so they can sell concessions, they can sell parking, they can sell merch, they can build up decades long
Which
loyalty,
has already been
generational
outlined.
loyalty. Yeah, Bobby Kotick is a slick son of a bitch right there. This guy is a genius.
He absolutely is. I mean, he's been working with Activision for a long time. Call of Duty, the franchise alone, has bought in billions of dollars. Um, Call of Duty as a
Now,
game, nonetheless, an esport, isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
and here's the other thing too. So Activision is probably looking at this and they're like, okay, yeah, viewership numbers on Twitch. Okay, viewership numbers go down if one of these orgs gets eliminated from the tournament. Optic got eliminated, phase is gone. Okay, viewership's gonna go down. But honestly, I'm gonna tell people that a lot of the models will show that viewership numbers aren't really a stat you want to rely too much on.
Yeah.
But you really want that viewership numbers only really matter in relation to RPF, which stands for revenue per fan.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, if fans aren't spending money, it doesn't matter how many fans you really have. Just like running an AdSense campaign with Google, you get 1 million exposures, that nobody clicks through, nobody buys your product. Doesn't really make sense. So one of my marketing buddies is also telling me about this. So I guess was one of the little girls from Pretty Little Liars, whatever, had some sort of marketing activation where she was paid, I think, 50 grand or something for some influencer type tweet or post on Instagram or whatever. 600,000 impressions. How many items were sold?
600,000 impressions. How many items were sold? Pretty Little Liars. Probably a couple thousand?
Zero.
Zero?
Zero.
Oh my
See,
god. Wow.
that's the pro. And so that just shows
Oof.
that exposure and viewership only matters to a certain extent. It's really RPF you need to worry about. That's the other thing too. When I sit there and I look at this, I also see that there's a complete disconnect between non-endemic brands and the target audience. Like most of the Call of Duty fan base, probably in their teens, right?
Yeah.
You really think they're going to be able to go out there and buy a Nissan? Or how
No.
about this? Uh, Remember those awful motherboard commercials last year during all the Twitch streams for the league
Oh,
or PC
yeah.
peripherals?
Yep.
I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this is mainly a console game right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
What interest do they have in a sound card,
Mhm.
Sound Blaster Recon sound card, or this motherboard here?
Yeah.
What interest do you have in it? So I see that as being something that a lot of companies are overlooking right now, or even organizations. Like they're just looking at the metrics the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's several different ways to look at it, but for me, I think really Call of Duty is going to be, like you said, hitting that golden age where 2019, 2020, people really see that esports as a whole isn't just, you know, just a phase anymore. It's around the stick and stay. People are going to be clearly spending money on it. There's money to be made, there's money to be had, and obviously Activision wants a slice of that pie. Um, so yeah.
Want to build out valuation on their own league there too, so it pumps up their share price.
Exactly.
Gives a larger return to their shareholders and stuff.
Yeah,
Makes
makes the world go
same thing with
round.
the franchise as well too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess so. What even with Overwatch League right now? Well, next year it's supposed to be the first year of revenue sharing, so teams are
Yeah.
gonna get a cut of that sweet, sweet Budweiser and Coca-Cola sponsorship revenue. They're going to love it right there. So how many teams are there? 20 right now, so that's $200 million in sponsorship dollars. So each team should probably start pulling in, well, after expenses are taken out and all that other stuff. Let's say, Feeling $10 million each on that right there.
Yeah,
Not bad.
it's a nice chunk of change.
Exactly. Nice chunk of change right there. It might cover your operating expenses for a year and a half right there.
Yep.
But yeah, that's another thing to go through that we probably go through. I don't know about you. I'm actually starting to wake up, Lil. I don't know why.
Hey, let's do
Yeah,
it.
we could. I mean, we can keep answering questions all day.
No,
Actually,
there's
actually
more.
like answering all these questions.
Yeah, there's more.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
I don't think people understand the costs associated with operating a franchise team.
Mm.
Is something you guys want to hear about in chat? Let me know. I don't even have chat open.
If you guys want to hear more, let me know. He'll tell us.
I'll be talking about something else.
But
whatever you guys want.
Actually, here's a good one that can get going for a little bit. How do you think next year will go? It's a big, broad question.
That's kind of a broad question.
All right, how about let's do give us a gut feeling on what orgs do you think will stick around?
All right, well, we already got Splice in there. We already have Envy in there. I believe we're gonna get Gen G.
Yeah, Gen G's really the big one.
I think we're gonna get 100 Thieves. Then I think we might see a TSM or C9 or a Liquid come in.
Okay.
Maybe a few more of these not Activision, a few more of these Overwatch teams that don't want their current market might come in. So Chengdu might come in. You know, Chengdu Hunters. There's no COD market out there.
Yeah, no.
Kind of, so you know they're not going to be like, okay, yeah, Activision, here's $25 million, sure. They'd rather be like, you know,
in
let's
a
go
market that
like
has
Seattle
absolutely no Call of Duty players.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no reason for them to do that. So that's why I'm saying like some of these orgs not activating their territory isn't really a bad thing, but some of them that didn't, that right there is something you might want to look at. So
yeah,
I guess what Boston has their Overwatch team, they weren't announced, so they didn't sell that team to them. So I guess Boston's up for bids. That sort of stuff right there. But
do you think any orgs would merge?
Yeah, I could see that happening. Like some of these smaller teams might try to come together in some sort of investment group and be like, okay, well, you got 10 million, I've got 20 million. Actually, even if they had to scrape that little cash together, I don't think Activision would give them a spot to be but let's say, for example, I don't know, Midnight, Accelerate, UIU, all those people got together, whatever. Maybe they could. I don't know.
That would be interesting.
Something like that.
That would be a weird fusion. It would be like a melting pot of orgs.
Yeah, or two orgs could just split the cost of the team.
Phase and Optic. Oh god, the internet would set on fire.
That might be kind of cool to see, but
that would be interesting.
Ties into the operational costs on teams. I don't think people understand exactly how expensive these things are going to be to run, especially since Activision is shifting all the costs from MLG over to the teams here.
They'll get together and rename to the Unpayables. That's messed up.
Yeah, but okay, so let's think about it this way, okay? So any of these teams next year, obviously they have to have minimum 6-7 players on the roster.
Yeah.
They have to have a coach. They probably have a GM. They're going to have to pay a CEO, a COO, probably a CMO, definitely a CFO. So we're already at 13 right there. Then they're going to need some support staff. They're going to need to pay for a marketing person. They're going to need to pay for analysts. So you're probably already around 20 people. Then you're probably going to need a PR guy. You're probably going to need an events planning team. That's 2 guys. Probably need 1 social media guy. Even at $30,000 a year, probably going to need some designers making some sweet merch.
Yeah.
I need a media team. So let's say you're probably at 40 employees, but let's just say it's 30 employees, okay? So, okay, obviously you're going to have
pricey. Yeah, exactly.
You're going to have to provide healthcare for them, okay? That's just how it is, and that's what Activision said with Overwatch League. So, to provide healthcare benefits comes
it's like
out
$13 an hour, I think.
Let's say it's $11 an hour.
Okay.
$11 an hour worked, okay? So if you have as little as 30 employees, it's $330 per hour that you're spending on healthcare benefits. 40 hours a week puts you somewhere around $13,200 a week spending on healthcare. Well, calculate that out to a year. Multiply it by 52. You're looking at nearly $700,000 a year in healthcare benefits you're paying out. just
Damn.
for 30 employees.
Damn.
Just for 30 employees. And that's just for the healthcare. And let's figure you got to pay for them to live in Burbank.
Uh-huh.
You got to pay rent on that.
Yeah.
Burbank, LA area is not exactly cheap. Let's say you went cheap and you put them in a team house of $4,000, $48,000 a year, but you also got to get them a chef. You got to get them a nutritionist. Say those only run $50,000 a year. So add that to the $700,000, you're already at $850,000. You got to pay for their food. You got to pay for more travel. Now your operating expenses just for the team itself,
Yeah.
for the players and coach, are somewhere around 1.3 million, I'd say. Then you got to pay salary on all these other guys too. Let's say everybody stays at $10,000 a month. Okay, that's $700,000 a year already right there. So now you're into the 3 million range right there.
Yep.
See where this starts adding up.
Yeah.
This is why Activision isn't looking for dudes that are going to struggle
That
coming up
just
with
have
$25
$25 million in the bank. They
want
need,
dudes. They want dudes with billions of dollars, where $25 million is a rounding error, where they're not going to miss $10 million. Oh, it costs $15 million at net loss this year instead of $10 million? No problem. Whatever. Why are you bothering me with this? I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. The dudes that run around with $100 bills and $20 bills in their pockets or whatever. No, you said that to me, and I think somebody posted on Twitter somewhere, but that's not the type of people that Activision is trying to target with this league. It really is the big money dudes, and that's why Activision actually prefers everybody like Cox Enterprises that owns a spot.
Yeah.
These companies that do $20 billion in revenue
a year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. They want dudes who don't care that if they end up losing $150 million over the next 10 years.
Yeah, like I said, there was, I believe it was actually in one of the Discords that I was talking in the other day, and I told you this as well. Somebody put it perfectly, that for these people going, oh my god, $25 million for an investment where an event only caps at 88K, doesn't make sense, why are they doing it, it's not a smart investment. You're not going to understand a $25 million investment if you have $100 in the bank and $20 in your pocket. Like, it's not going to make sense to you because to you, not making any income in 3 years on a $25 million investment sounds insane to you. Then you're not the person they're looking to appeal to.
I put out a tweet somewhere where if you have to ask what something costs, you probably shouldn't buy
Yep.
it. If you have to worry about the ancillary costs of a purchase, you shouldn't buy it.
And
if
you're
worried about the maintenance costs on your Porsche right there, you shouldn't buy that car, even though you might be able to pay for it up front. Like, that sort of stuff shouldn't be an issue. Just like people say, don't go out, don't eat out if you're going to worry about having to tip. Same thing right there. These extra costs associated with it. That's the other thing to think about too. Like, a lot of these bigger groups that are putting money in, they've ran their own market analysis and all this sort of stuff too. They've probably made their own pitch decks, investors, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That costs money. I don't think you guys understand how much a pitch deck costs. And only even a 10-slide thing is going to run you $3,000 to $5,000.
Yep. Yeah, they're expensive.
They're
expensive. There's a reason why people in esports do stuff on their own and think that they're amazing at it. It's because nobody wants to go out and spend $5,000 on a 10. Nobody wants to do it.
You're gonna need a lawyer on retainer too if you own one of these teams. So that's already another $100,000 in salary.
Minimum, yeah.
Easy $100,000 right there. Easy.
Yep. All right. We will do this last question here. Ask him, Edgar, what does he think the future value looks like on a $25 million spot?
How far out and what market?
All right, so let's see.
These are all things to think about. It's not just a simple.
Yeah, let's say, all right. Do you think teams should be expecting a return in investment within 5 years?
Return on investment, I don't think they're going to recover their costs on that. I think they're still going to be they might be operationally profitable, but I don't think they would recover their franchise by then. Okay, so let's figure first year you're probably going to lose $15 million plus your franchise fee, but I assume the franchise fee will be paid out over 3 to 5 years. Let's say it's $100 million. They might be like, okay, 40, 40, and 20. Oh, but that's Activision, but they just might be like, nope, we want all today, right now. So you don't even know, and that's probably part of the bid process as well
It
too.
might be, and honestly,
Like,
that
yeah,
might not be a bad idea on their end.
exactly. So instead, well, it might be smart too. Let's say you're bidding on LA. Bidding's at what, 60 million now. Somebody guy might come out and say $100 million over 5 years. Activision might be like, oh, maybe. Then
Yeah.
some dude might be like $80 million over 2 years. Now with NPV calculations, net present value of money, you'd probably
Mhm.
take the $80 million over 2 years instead of 100 million over five. That sort of stuff is all. It's probably all going to go into, and I assume all these groups out there have some sort of crazy marketing plans, business plans out there, not just showing up being like, we want this city and here's how much. Can't just be a random Joe off the street, even if you won the $1.5
Mhm.
billion Powerball, which means after taxes you probably have 600 million in the bank. Be like, okay, I want a spot. Like Activision, they're gonna screen everybody associated with this too. They want top level people, stand up dudes, leaders of their industry, this sort of stuff. So going to valuation. It also depends what market you're going to be in. Let's say the league is successful and profitable and everything works according to plan.
Yeah.
Obviously, New York and the LA franchises should have a higher valuation at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
Because they should be pulling in more revenue.
Yeah.
But after 5 years, I think valuation, let's say a $25 million bid, highest, well, I don't want to say highest because that's the minimum bids. $25 million bid somewhere in Seattle. Let's say Seattle, right? I don't think
Mhm.
there's a team there right now. After 5 years, you're probably going to get a valuation along the lines of uh, maybe 60 million after 5 years.
Oh wow.
But then, of course, once you become more profitable, you're done amortizing those expenses of the franchise fee, or you purchase your arena or whatever.
Mhm.
Maybe by year 10, you're going to see a valuation closer to 400 million or so. But then remember, you probably already spent 125 million though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing. This isn't a get rich quick scheme.
No.
This is gonna take a
No.
lot
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah.
If
I
it were,
think
yeah,
that's what
if it,
people
yeah,
are like. I don't know if they're worried about that. That they think orgs are
no,
going to be coming
it's
in and making money super quick, and they feel some way about it. I don't
yeah,
know,
that's the
but
thing. They're not trying to make money immediately. They know they're going to lose money, maybe even for the first decade.
yeah.
But like I said, they're not thinking in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year periods. They're thinking decades out into the future here.
Mhm.
They're okay with losing all this money to make sure that maybe 40 years from now it's worth $1.2 billion.
Yeah.
That's what they're thinking right there.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it's
and
not get rid. Yeah,
obviously, yeah.
if it,
Obviously,
yeah,
for people when they sit there and they go, "Oh wow, 200 million in 10 years. That
like,
sounds great." It's not that
yeah, but you
easy.
spent all this. You probably spent 150 million already.
Mhm.
Also, here, think about it this way too. If this league was absolutely profitable from the get go, like the NFL or NBA is, like you're just buying in immediately.
Mhm.
NBA, they're probably going to expand to 32 teams sometime, right? So
Yeah.
probably going to be $800 million buy-in. Why can they demand that up front? Because it's already profitable.
Oh yeah.
It's not really speculative at that point in time. So if all these esports and stuff are already profitable today like this, especially since you're going to be a perpetual revenue partner with Activision,
Mhm.
minimum bids on this should probably be $200 million. They should probably be rivaling NHL and MLS teams.
Man.
Yes, but there you go. But that's why bids, actually, people were a little bit surprised when it was only 25. Most
Yeah.
people thought it was going to be 35 to 50 from what
So
I've been.
kind of at that point, people who are buying in now, they're really spending less than what they thought. In
Well,
one way or another, but
well, remember that's according to that leaked slide.
yeah.
That's what Activision says the minimum bid is. Like if you say 24, they're like, get out of here.
Yeah.
But they're not gonna sell at 25. All these cities are gonna cost so much more unless, like I said, you want Albuquerque, New Mexico or something. At that
Yeah.
point in time, I don't even think Activision would sell you a franchise there. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, eh, I guess you could say it's like an eBay auction. Does it really matter if you set the starting bid on a car at $10 or $100? No, it doesn't matter because it should close somewhere a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
Just an opening bid. That's really it.
Mhm.
And of course, it just sits there to weed out the pretenders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I expect
Yeah.
everything sells around 50.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely gonna have money to work with to start setting up, these, stadiums that are eventually gonna have to be built. Excuse me, for Overwatch League and eventually the Call of Duty League. Also to help out these, teams, collect sponsorships and brand activations, all this good stuff. But there's definitely a lot of stuff for Call of Duty to look forward to. The players, the amateurs, yeah, there's a lot of great things to be looking forward to as we head into, as this said, golden age of COD. Um, but yeah, I guess with that, I guess we'll start wrapping up. If
Yeah,
there's any last words you want to drop,
I
go for
guess.
it.
I guess some people were worried. I guess people were worried about move to PC or something like that.
Yeah, people are worried about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't really see that as an issue. They'll just force them to play with controllers or something like that. I know some people are like, well, it's not going to be fair if even if we have cross-platform, we're using controllers. Everybody's using controllers, and they're on PC at 120 FPS. I'm sitting here at 60 FPS. I'm gonna say this right now. You already have some sort of dichotomy right now on PS4, right? Because
Mhm.
you can play league matches on a PS4 or PS4 Pro. Experience is much better on a PS4 Pro right now, so that's already right there. So I don't really see an issue of moving to PC. Well, if it moves to mouse and keyboard, I think that'd be terrible because I've played Black Ops 4 on PC with mouse and keyboard.
Uh huh.
It's so imbalanced and
It's
so
very
broken.
fast. It's
I don't like it at
very
all.
fast. I was actually playing it the other night with a couple
Oh,
of
it's like
friends.
you can just tell when you're getting shot around corners and stuff. It's just because you have that much more precision and everything's a lot
Mhm.
faster. It's just the pacing's off too. So I hope it never goes to mouse and
No, it
keyboard and
seems
just
like
stays
what
as
they're gonna do is they're gonna have it be on PC so it can get that beautiful 120 frames per second. But
Oh,
keep
that
but
actually
keep them
works
on
controller.
controllers, and I'm okay with
Players would
that.
love that too.
I
Players would
am
love that too because
okay
you look
with
at
that.
camera. Oh,
Yep.
yep, yep, well, yeah.
Yeah. So
No, I
yeah,
don't
the
really see
players
an
would definitely
issue with
enjoy
it.
it. Yep. Yep. But all right, guys. Well, that is it for tonight. If you guys are interested in another one, a part four, we'll see if we can get Edgar to squeeze some time into his schedule. Maybe next month, the month after, we'll figure it out. Um, but let us know in the chat if you're interested in more. Obviously, we would like to bring you more. Um, I personally would like to thank you again, Edgar, for coming on, chat with me for damn over 2 hours now. Um, I definitely learned a lot. I hope the community did as well. If you guys would like to ask any questions to Edgar or anything like that, you can check out his Twitter, which is linked below. Also, if you guys are interested in more of the podcast, I posted the links below for the video 1 and video 2. Um, yeah, are you going to be streaming after this at all, or are you wrapping it up for the night?
Probably will.
Okay,
Probably go
I'll
play some
just,
Battlefield with my buddy.
alright, yeah,
That's
I'll just send
that's
all
cool.
the viewers over to
Yeah.
you.
And if you guys are around, just want to ask some more stuff, that's fine over there too.
Yep.
Cool, I guess. I mean, there's so much we could talk about on this.
Yeah,
But
if,
honestly, it'd be cool if one of you guys, because probably about 5 hours worth of content now. I really hope somebody actually just makes an outline or timestamps about the topics we talked about because, like, the thing is, I'll go on Reddit or I'll go on Twitter every now and then. I'll look, and then it's like there's an explanation for why this has to be a certain way, or what Activision's thinking might be on it, or why I think from a business sense this would be the best way of doing something.
mhm,
I just wish that we could just link people somewhere there. And I think that's really why I agreed to start doing these podcasts, just to
yeah,
share information, just to start a dialogue. So when we go on Reddit, and it's not just an echo chamber, so people can actually have intelligent discussions about certain things. And,
absolutely.
and hopefully, give this league a chance because
Yeah,
they're not trying to kill Call of Duty. Nobody's trying to kill Call of Duty or kill the league off. That would not make any sense at all. And it's just, I'd say it's just kind of like an advisor that you really trust telling you something you might not want to hear or something you didn't think of before. And I wish people would just be open about listening to new ideas. And hopefully something like this, if there's some sort of outline or whatever, or somebody could go through timestamp all this sort of stuff, we would start a discussion, not on Reddit. Not trying to self promote or anything, but I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys like the podcast, maybe tweet something out. Get a discussion going on your Twitter timelines with your friends about that sort of stuff. Outside of that, I want to thank you guys for listening to an old dude ramble, random old dude on the internet.
Well, old dude on the internet or not, you definitely have some great, opinions and insight into stuff that obviously, regular folk like us don't. So, like you said, sharing the story and this insight is what is important to me, and that's what we want to do. So please, if you can, share this out on the subreddit, tweet it out.
Don't do it on Reddit. You don't want to spam any of that, guys. It's not cool at all. I mean, if you liked it, tweet some.
That's what I mean. You don't, yeah. What we want to do, honestly, is we're not looking to promote me or we're not looking to promote Edgar. What we're looking to do is honestly just promote the talk of Call of Duty franchising. Talk about it, chat about it, tell us what you think about it. Like you said, talk with your friends about it. It's not going anywhere, so might as well, right?
Call of Duty's not going anywhere. We're going to be around for decades.
Yep.
That should excite you guys.
Absolutely. So with that, thank you guys for all tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll absolutely tweet out when we're doing the next one. I'll put this video up on YouTube so you guys can watch it. And also the VOD will be available right after once Twitch does its processing thing. So thank you guys. Have a great night. And I will send all the viewers over to Edgar.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right. Thanks, stream. Thanks for watching.